Hello everyone. So our today's topic of discussion is data interpretation, and this is the third video of data interpretation. I have already made two videos. In the first one we discussed a bar graph, in which I also explained you the basics of data interpretation, the points that you have to take into consideration. The second one is also on bar graph. What we'll be doing today is I call this a brick graph. Like it's easier to remember. And why it's called brick graph, I'm going to explain it to you also. And this is an easier question as far as the brick graph is concerned. We're going to have some difficult questions also for the brick graph. Okay, so we're going to follow the same exercise. I'm going to show you the data set. You're going to pause the video, and you're going to jot down the points of whatever you have understood from the graph, like whatever information you could get out of the graph, and what are the types of questions that can be asked. Okay, because you need to think up to that level if you want to be good with data interpretation for GRE. Okay, alright, then let's not waste any time further. Let's move on to the graph. So pause the video and try to analyze this graph, like whatever points you can make out, whatever information you can take out from this, try to do that, please. All right, let's see what we can do. We're going to go step by step. So first is the heading, because we need to know what the graph is all about. So it's about average salaries in dollars of men and women working in 4 different offices. Okay, so it's talking about the average salaries in dollars of men and women. Okay, again, now I have a graph. So on y-axis I don't have anything, so I'm assuming that this is going to be the salaries in dollars. I may be wrong, so I need to look at what's given on the x. So on the x I have office 1, office 2, office 3 and office 4. So that means on y it has to be salaries in dollars. Okay, nothing else can be there. So this is, let me write the word average also, average salaries in dollars. So the blue one represents that of men, average salary of men, and the orange one represents average salary of that of women. Now in this case this is an easier brick graph, because I've given you the numbers also on the graph itself, so it becomes easier to analyze, easier to deduct. But in the real question, in the difficult one, you will not have these many data points given to you. Okay, you have to, like, you need to read this properly, and you need to analyze what this point would correspond to and what this point would correspond to. You need to know this. Okay, now I know that you can't there would be a discussion on the exact value, but something closer to the exact would basically do. Like for example, if this 1200 and this 700 was not given to me, so I could have said that, order this is above 1000, it's not exactly in middle of 1000 and 1500, so I would also go for 1200. And for this orange part, it is between 1500 and what do you call this, 2000. It is above the middle point, and so okay, I can say that this will be somewhere around like 1850 or 1900. So I'll go with 1900. The reason is that I don't want to bring 1850 into picture, because otherwise it's going to be like 1850 minus 1200, that's 650, and I don't want to go into that. I want double zeros at the end. That's the only reason. Okay, so here and there of 50 or 40 won't make a difference, because you can see that the scaling is of 500. Okay, so here and there of 40, 50 will do. You don't have to worry about that. Anyways, in this case the exact values are given to you, so that's a good sign. That means it's an easier question. So what brick graph essentially is, now in this case we have only like 2 bricks. In the difficult questions that we'll be doing on this topic, you will have like 5 bricks or 6 bricks. Okay, so this is basically like, this bar graph represents a value corresponding to 1900, this bar, the first bar, of which the first one is only up to 1200. And if you want to calculate the second one, then it's going to be the total value minus the value of the blue bar. It's going to be the total value minus the value of the blue bar. So this orange bar would correspond to 700. Anyways, in this case it's given to us, but for the future references you should know how to calculate the individual values. Okay, you may have a bar, another bar on top of it, then another bar on top of it, and so on and so forth. So this is basically how you read what you call this brick graph. So you can say that for office 1 the average salary of men is 1200, that of women is 700. For office 2 average salary of men is 800, that of women is 900. For office 3 average salary of men is 1100, that of women is 1200. For office 4 the average salary of men is 900 and that of women is 800. Alright, so this is what is given to me. They have given me the average salary. I do not know the individual salary. More importantly, I also do not know how many men and how many women are there. Okay, this is another critical point which you need to remember. I only know the average salary. I'm going to write that as AS. This I know. I do not know number of men. I do not know this. I do not know number of women. This also I do not know. Do I know any relationship between number of men and number of women? As of now, I do not know that. I also do not know that what the total salary is all about. Because if I know the total salary, then I'll be able to calculate the total number of men and women for that particular office, which also I do not know. So the only thing that I have is the average salary, and that's it. Now, why I'm doing this? Because I know that whenever you talk about the term average, what exactly is average? Average is total. In this case, the average salary will be the total salary of the entire office divided by total number of employees. Okay, so if I simply have the average, I would be requiring one of the remaining two quantities so that I can figure out the third one. Okay, because that's the only thing which average can be related to. If I'm going to give you a question on average, I'm not going to ask you like calculate mean, mode, and median. Nobody's going to do that. So you need to also know this, that okay, if this is the information given to me, what all can I calculate, what all can be asked, because that is also important. Because once you have a slight hint, once you have a notion of what can be asked, then things become easier for you, because you know, okay, this will be asked. Now you are mentally prepared for it. So I know that if this question on average is given to me, so either they'll let me know something related to the total number of employees, or they'll let me know something regarding the total salary, and from there on they can move to anything. But I need one of the two informations, otherwise like I can't do anything with this piece of information. Okay, now below this data set, they have given me a note also, and this note is like number of employees in all four offices are equal. Okay, and the ratio of number of men to number of women in every office is 1:1. So I think that's the information I was looking for, and they have given it to me. Now if the ratio of number of men to number of women is 1:1, then I can calculate the average of the entire office. I can calculate the average of the entire office because the ratio is given to me. So I can consider the number of men and number of women working in any office to be X and X, or A and A, P and P, whatever I wish to. And also I can compare the average salary of the entire office between any two offices. I can also compare that, because it's also given to me that the number of employees in all the four offices are equal. Okay, so if they're like this is men, this is women. So let's suppose if I say that they're like 600 women working, so there has to be like 600 men working. So in this case also it's going to be 600 women and 600 men. This is what it basically helps me out. This ratio 1:1 is for office, in between the office, or let me put it this way, this is like intra office, and all the four offices have equal number of employees, so that's between any two offices. Okay, this is basically what it is. If any one of them is missing, then it will become a problem for me. Then I won't be either able to compare among two offices, or like I won't be either able to compare in one office itself. I hope you are getting the point. All right, anyways, let's move on to the question. Let's see what do we have, what kind of questions do we have, so accordingly we can proceed forward. All right, so the first one, I've made the question slightly difficult because the data set was very easy, so there's no point of doing easy questions. All right, so the first one is find the approximate difference between the average salaries of men and women in all the four offices combined. Find the approximate difference between the average salaries of men and women in all the four offices combined. Now, if I want to calculate the average salary of men of all the four offices, then I need to know the first of all, I need to know the total salary of men in all the four offices. So for office 1, it is 1200 multiplied by, let's say, x. Let's take it to x to be the number. For second one, it's 800 into x. It has to be x. We don't have any other option, because the total number of employees in all offices are equal and the ratio is also 1:1. Then it's 1100 into x. Then it's 900 into x. So let's add them up. So this was 2000, 2000, this is 4000x. Now for that of women, let's take it to be y, the number of women. So 700y plus 900y plus 1200 and 800. So this will become 2000 and this is 1600. So this will be 3600y. So this is the total salaries of men in all the four offices. This is the total salary of women in all the four offices. If I want to calculate the average for men, I'm writing that as AM. Average for men will be 4000x divided by 4x, and that will be 1000. And average for women will basically become 3600y divided by 4y, that will be 900. So what's the equation? Find the approximate difference between the average salaries of men and women. So this will simply become 100. This will simply become 100. Now understand, if in this case, if in this note section, if it was given to me, if it was only given to me, like, let me remove this part. If it was only given to me that ratio of number of men to number of women in every office is 1:1. If it was only given to me, see, I want you to understand this note. This note is the key point of this entire data set. Okay, that's why I'm emphasizing so much onto this. If it was only given to me that ratio of number of men to number of women in every office is 1:1, in that case, what would have happened? For all men, we couldn't have taken x, 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 x. In that case, what we were supposed to do, we were supposed to take this as, let's suppose A, then this has something like B, then this has something like C, and so on and so forth. Then it would have not been possible. And then we couldn't have calculated the answers. That would have been a problem. Correct? In this case, we are able to do that because I know that the ratios are equal. And also we have like equal number of employees. Now you may also say, okay, the ratio of number of men to number of women is also 1:1. So why didn't you take X here for number of women? No reason. I just took X is to Y to be 1. I just took this ratio to be 1. That's it. Otherwise, you can take it to be X, 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 X. That's your call. If it was not, if this, see, understand again, if this first statement, the one that I've like, that I have, what do you call, I have cancelled with this black color. If this statement was not given to me, in that case, what would it would have been? This would have been X, this would have been A, this would have been B, this would have been C. So then this would have become X, this would have become A, this would have become B, this would have become C. And then you can't calculate the answer. then you can't calculate the answer. So you require both of those points in order to calculate. All right. Anyway, so in this case, the answer is simply 100. All right, let's move on. Okay. Let's move on to the second question. Consider the ratio of number of men to number of women for office 1, office 2, office 3 and office 4. Okay, so ratio is given. 1 is to 1.2. 1.1 is to 1.3. 1.2 is to 1.3. And 2.1 is to 2.2. So this is the ratio of number of men to women. Then for which office the ratio of total salaries drawn by men to total salaries drawn by women is greatest? Now, what they have done in this case, they have changed the ratio. They have only changed the ratio. Okay. So what we are going to do, we're going to consider the total number of employees working in all the offices to be equal, because if that's not same, then we can't solve this question. If that's not same, then we can't solve the question. Okay. All right. So what I have done in this question is, this part I have altered, the one that I'm like putting the black brackets. This I have altered, okay. But the part before that remains as it is, because if that's not true, then it's going to be a very complex calculation, no denying on that part. We can have questions on that also, but I've never seen GRE going that far with calculations. Anyways, so the ratio is given to me and we are considering the number of employees to be equal, right? So what I'll do is, I'm going to consider the total number of employees in every office to be P. Okay. I'm going to consider total employees in every office to be P. Okay. So for the first office, I can say that for first office, the ratio is 1 is to 1.2. So I can say that 2.2x is P. X is basically the multiplication factor divided by 2.2. So I can say that men will be P divided by 2.2 and women will be 1.2 P divided by 2.2. Okay, P divided by 2.2 is basically the multiplication factor which we are trying to calculate. Now using the same principle, I'll do it for one more office. Let me do it for like second office. For second office, you can say that 2.4x is equal to P, or x is P by 2.4. So this is 1.1 P divided by 2.4 and 1.3 P divided by 2.4. Similarly, for the third one, you can say that the number of men will be 1.2 P divided by 2.5 and it will be 1.3 P divided by 2.5. And for the last office, it's going to be like 2.1 P divided by 4.3 and it will be 2.2 P divided by 4.3. Okay, so this is what we are going to get. Alright, now I just need to know, because it's the ratio of the total salaries drawn by men to the total salaries drawn by a woman. Okay, so I just need to know the total salaries now. So let's pen them down also. So it's 1200, 700. 800, 900. 1100, 1200, 900, 800. Okay. All right. So let's calculate the ratio now. Let's start doing that calculation. So it's going to be 1200 into P divided by 2.2 divided by 700 into 1.2 P divided by 2.2. This is for one. For second, it's going to be 800 into 1.1 P divided by 2.4 divided by 900 into 1.3 P divided by 2.4. For third one, it's going to be 1100 1.2 P by 2.5 divided by 1200 into 1.3 P divided by 2.5. And for the fourth one, it's going to be 900 2.1 P divided by 4.3 divided by 800 into 2.2 P divided by 4.3. Now you just need to solve this, nothing else is there. All right, so the first one is 1200. See, I can cancel these terms. I can remove this, I can remove this part. So the first one is simply 1200 by 700 into 1.2. I can remove the two zeros also. So I need to do 12 divided by 7 and then further divided by 1.2. This is going to give me like 1.42. First one is 1.42. Second one, again the same thing, remove this, remove this. So it's you can remove the two zeros also. So that's 800 into 1, oh sorry, 8 into 1.1, that's 8.8, and divided by 9 into 1.3, so that's divided by 9, and then further divided by 1.3, which will be 0.752. The third one is again remove this, so that's 11 into 1.2 divided by 12 into 1.3. So that's going to be 0.846. And the last one will be, you can remove this, you can remove this, that's 9 into 2.1 divided by 8 and then divided by 2.2 again, so that's 1.07. So your answer simply becomes office A or office 1. That will be the answer. Now the question comes, do you have to actually do all this calculation? Do you want to actually do all these calculations? No, it's not required. The reason being is that when the total number of employees is equal, so you need to understand that if total number of employees is equal, so if I'm doing 1 plus 1.2x, 1x plus 1.2x, that's for office 1. If that is equal to some quantity P, then 1.1 plus 1.3y, that is for office B, that will also be equal to P, because the number of employees, the total number of employees is equal. And you're taking ratio in between one office only. That is, you're doing men of office 1 divided by women of office 1, or men of office 2 divided by women of office 2. So that total is going to get cancelled. That value P, which is the total number of employees, that's going to get cancelled. So you don't have to do all this. What you could have simply done is, let's suppose for office 1, what you could have simply done is, you could have simply done 1200 into 1 divided by 700 into 1.2. That total employee was not required. That total, but I just wanted to prove it to you. That's why I did all these calculations. Because you need to save your time. If I were to do this question in exam, what I would have done is, let me remove this first of all. I wouldn't have gone this far also. What I would have done is, okay, remove these zeros, remove these zeros, zeros, and it's in between one office. So why should I calculate the total number of employees? Why should I calculate total number of male and total number of female? Because it's going to get cancelled. I would have simply done, okay, 12 into 1 divided by 7 into 1.2. That's it. For second office, it's going to be simply 8 into 1.1 divided by 9 into 1.3. Then for third office, it's going to be 11 into 1.2 divided by 12 into 1.3. And then for fourth office, it would have been like 9 into 2.1 divided by 8 into 2.2. And I won't even calculate for office 2 and office 3 because I want the ratio to be maximum. So it has to be 1 or 2, 1 or 4, that's it. I'll simply go with 1 because the difference between 12 and 7 into 1.2 is more in comparison to 9 into 2.1 and 8 into 2.2. I'll definitely reduce my time in this question. I won't waste my time. Okay. Alright, anyways, if you're doing it for the first time, it's not bad. You should do all these calculations because only when you're going to do all these calculations, then only you're going to realize. Nobody realizes it before doing the calculation. Alright, okay, let's move on to the last question. Pause the video and try the third question, please. Now you know the basics. Consider ratio of number of men to number of women for office 2 and office 4. Okay, so office 2, it is 1 is to 1.2, and office 4 it's 1 is to 1.1. Then the average salary of office 2 employees is what percent greater lesser than the average salary of office 4 employees? Again, I'm taking into the consideration that total number of employees are equal. I'm taking into consideration that total number of employees are equal. Otherwise, I would be requiring that ratio also, or else I can't calculate the answer. Okay. Like in this question, in this video, basically I'm not changing both the parts because otherwise it's going to be difficult for some of you to comprehend. I have tried to make this as simple as possible. Anything lower than this, and then you would be able to solve that. Don't worry. Okay, once you have understood this. Anyways, so consider the ratio of number of men to number of women of office 2 and office 4 is this. Then the average salary of office 2 employees. Okay, now if I want to calculate office 2, first I need to know the values for office 2. 800, 900, 800, 900, 900, 800. So for average, if I want to calculate for the entire office, it will be 800 into P divided by 2.2 plus 900 into 1 point P divided by 2.2 and divided by the total number of employees. Or why, let's not do all this, it's not required. Now you know the basics, so why doing all this? So this will simply be like 800 into 1 plus 900 into 1.2 divided by 2.2. And the average for office 4 will be 900 into 1 plus 800 into 1.1 divided by 2.1. So let's do that. I just 800 plus 900 into 1.2. So 900 into 1.2 will become like 1080 plus 800, and then that will be divided by 2.2, which is like 854.54. And for the second one, it's going to be 900 plus 880 because 800 into 1.1 is 880 divided by 2.1, and that will be 847.61. So what's the question? Then average salary of employee office 2 employees is what percent greater or lesser than the average salary of office 4 employees? So this will be 854.54 minus 847.61 divided by 847.61 into 100. So it will be 854.54 minus 847.61 divided by 847.61, and then this will be multiplied by 100%. That will be 0.817%, and that's your answer. Bit calculative, bit lengthy, but this is something that you need to know. Okay, the question can be made more difficult, no denying on that part. If I change this part also, that the total number of employees are not equal, this would become a bit more lengthier than what we have done in this video. All right, so guys, that will be all as far as this video is concerned. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you have learned something new. Okay, so if you have any questions, if you have any queries regarding the question that we have solved, you are more than welcome to ask me anything. All right, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that for more videos and exam related content on SAT, GMAT and GRE. All right, and if you're looking for personalized classes for SAT, GMAT and GRE, you know how to connect with me. You can drop a text on WhatsApp or a mail on the given mail ID. And thank you so much for all the support, and keep watching and keep learning, guys. Thank you so much.